what it is. Although some of this might be, actually no one's here for this, but this is might be repetitive for those listening on tape. But we're going to do the sugya of Mishloach Manos. All right, I know, so few. The sugya of Mishloach Manos. All right. So very nice, easy, simple svara. Okay, read Gemara Zayin and Aleph in the bottom. 2 dots.
Tani Rav Yosef, Mishloach Manos ish l'reu, shtei manos ish echad, matnas avyonim, shtei matnos l'shnei bnei adam.
All right, so our focus is on Mishloach Manos, but the Gemara says what? It says 2 manos for 1 person, which means what?
2 manos.
What's a mana? What's a mana? Portions, right? Of what?
Food.
Well, how do you know?
What type of food?
We don't know.
What is it?
I mean, that's the first thing that struck me as weird when I first looked at the sugya last year, which is that in other words, we don't like Gemaras like this. You want the Gemara to say, "What's your chiyuv?" Your chiyuv is to do this, right? Give your friend basar and yain. I know it's the next case. I'm saying, give him basar and yain. The Gemara doesn't say that. The Megillah says mishloach manos, shtei manos. We don't know what a mana is, right? Okay, that has to be explained. All right, Rashi.
I have a perfect source sheet next to you.
Manos, minim edanim.
So what's meaning Madanim? Oh, good. Okay, so there is something Rashi's giving you there. Okay, it's not just right. That's true. Right. It's not just food, but what is it?
Chashuv food.
Oh, so there's a character to the food.
Yeah.
Right. It's not just food, but there's a character to it. We don't know what that character is, right? Delicacy, whatever that is. It's not just regular giving of food. There's something more here. Okay. All right, weiter. Rashi, shtei manos l'adam echad.
Yosef, Mishloach Manos ish l'reu, shtei manos l'adam echad, matnos avyonim, shtei matnos l'shnei bnei adam, di lecho echad.
Die.
Die?
Yeah.
Die lecho echad yechad matna.
Achas.
Achas deha avyonim nami tarti mashna.
Right, fine. Right, but the point is that we're not doing matanos avyonim, but by Mishloach Manos, it's 2 manos for 1 person. Okay. All right. Gemara.
Rabbi Yehuda Nisia, Shadalei Rabbi Oshia, Etzma de Igla Tzlasa, so a nice chunk of meat.
Right.
Gavra Techama.
And a nice barrel of wine.
Right.
All right. So what? Okay. So he says back to him.
Shalchle Kiyumta Benu Abno Rabenu. You've fulfilled the words.
Which is, what do you fulfill?
Mishloach Manos.
The Gemara says Mishloach Manos Yisrael Matanos Avyonim. Well, actually, take out Matanos Avyonim. You take that out. Okay. So what do you learn from this Gemara at this point?
How is he a good meat? How is he ultimate Matanos Avyonim?
No, take it out. That's a girsa thing. You take the girsa out. So what do you think at this point?
What the heck am I supposed to
You
get?
need chashuv food.
But it's funny. But the Gemara, how does the Gemara teach us this point?
Like give it a story.
Example.
Isn't that strange?
Yeah.
No, but it's not. It's a funny example though. In other words, the Gemara is saying, "Oh, what did he do? He sent him basar and yayin," and his response to him was, "Oh, you were Mekayim Mishloach Manos Yisrael." So if that is the kiyum of Mishloach Manos Yisrael, so what should the Gemara say to begin with? Right, Mishloach Manos Yisrael was what? A mana of basar and a mana of yayin. Right? In other words, you got to appreciate what the Gemara is doing here. The Gemara is telling you that it says Mishloach Manos Yisrael. What's a mana? We don't know. Something good. Now the Gemara brings in a story, right? And he says, "Oh, you were Mekayim Mishloach Manos." So that's the key of Mishloach Manos. The Gemara should have stopped here, gone back, rewritten the beginning part, and said, "Well, Mishloach Manos is what?
Maybe they're saying it's
What? Basar v'yayin."
Rabba Shadalei Namare Barbar Biadabai Malo Tiska Dikshava.
The kisva.
Tiska, okay.
Umale kasa.
Casa
Kimcha davshuna. So he sent it. Now, what did he send them? I don't care. I'm not interested in the specifics of it, but I'm saying, what did he send them?
Flour and lots of dates.
No, so he sent him a basket of dates and another basket of what do you call it? Of dried, of roasted wheat kernels.
Right.
Okay. So what was his response?
Amar Bae, Amalei Bae. Hashta Amar Mari, Ichakla Malcha Lihabi Dikula Misvare Lo Nechis.
Right. So what is he saying? He's being metaphorical here, but he's saying what? He's saying what?
If you become a king, don't you remove the basket from your neck or something?
He's saying you sent something pretty normal.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome?
Yeah. He said, "This is good stuff.
That's not what it is.
You'll see. You send me good stuff, right? Because look at his. No, look at his. No.
That's average stuff.
Yeah,
Keep going.
Okay. Hadar Shadrle.
So he returned. He sent back to him.
Right.
Right.
Ihu Mala
Tiska de Zangvila.
Right. Mala Casa de Palplasa.
Aricha. Right. So he sent back to him.
Ginger and long peppers.
Right. Okay. So which one's better?
First.
The first one. Right. The first one. So what's his response? Amar Baye.
Asha Amar Anna Shadrile Huya Viu Shadili Korpa.
So what's he saying? I sent you something sweet, and you sent me something bitter.
But why
Okay.
would Abai say that?
No, because the Baye is saying because who sent? Right. No, but what was sent? No, let's just look at what was sent in the beginning. What was returned? What he sent him was something good. Okay, something good. Now, it's interesting. Not basar v'yayin, but something that is considered a delicacy.
He said to buy something good.
Right, and then what did he send back? He said when he sent back the ginger and the pilpul, he's deriding it. He's saying that's not good. Peppers. He's saying, "What you sent me back something harif." Right, which sounds like, was he happy?
No, he's only...
Is he happy with the pilpul?
No.
Who?
No.
He sent it.
But the receiver of it. The receiver of it. That's what the Gemara. You'll see. That's what the Gemara is going to deduce from this. Was he happy with it? Look at Rashi. I chakla malka lihavi dikula mitzavrei lonachas.
Yeah. Hatsal Shaya Ruggy Ololach. So basically that's normal descent. But Onu Ben
Ben kfar machal behemto. Right. So this basket that you normally would send on that's basically that you use to feed your animals.
Okay.
Lo yor ata merosho. Right.
It's not rude, not for me. And
Right.
Kachata Nasis Melach Lerosh Bipum Padisa. V'inech Shulach Lo Ella Devarim Mitzuyim.
So he sent him what? So again, at this point, he sent normal stuff, meaning that right, you could have done a lot better than this.
Right.
Okay.
He
So
wasn't.
right. So the question you have to ask is that why is the Gemara bringing these cases in? First case is let's just divide them up into two, okay? Because there's 3 cases total. First case is basar v'yayin, and that sounds like what?
Chashisa.
Well, that sounds like it's also that's the key of Mishloach Manos.
Right.
Second case is what?
Selling low lacking, perhaps.
But lacking in what? That's what you have to answer.
Yeah.
What's the lack in the second case? In the second, well, hold on. You have to answer what's the lack in the second case.
They don't
Okay.
tell us the
Ooh, good. Okay, it's unclear. It doesn't sound like they weren't, but the Gemara doesn't give that endorsement of Mekai Mishloach Manos, right? That's kind of strange. Okay, now do one more case.
Right. Amar Abai Hinavki Mebe Mar Chava Savannah. When I left the house of Mar, I was satisfied. Kimatze lahasam previously Shisen Sai de Shisen.
Mina Kedera.
Yeah. Abakli Behu Shisen. Yeah, Shisen.
Right.
Pludi Bishule.
Basraisa. So Habu Karle Tzale Kedar. Right. Uvoy Lemechas Tzav Asra. So what's he saying? He's saying that basically what he's saying is that he went to someone else's house for Suda and it was massive. 60 plates of this and he had 60 plates of that. This is after Bayi left.
I'm saying, is this related to the other story?
Oh, so we'll see. You have to get to the next point. Okay? No, so why is the Gemara transitioning to this? To get to this final point, which is that I don't care what the next point. Just skip down to where it says so Abaye Shliach Abaye bar Avin, Rav Chanina bar Avin. Right? So what would they do? They're Mechalfe Sudasayu Lahadadi. That's the key thing. So that's the last part of Mishloach Manos, and this is the third case I want to focus on. Machlef Suda. What does Machlef Suda mean?
Trading.
Right. And now again, does Gemara say there's a problem doing that? But look at Rashi. Machlef Suda Sayu.
Ze Ocho Amzu.
Im Zeh.
Imze B'Purim.
Shoshana Zu. Uveshniya Socha Beriyama. So what will you do? Every year, you come to my house one year, and I come to your house another year. Okay? Yeah. You come to my house for Suda one year, I go to your house for Suda another year.
Okay.
But one second, so what does that do with Mishloach Manos?
What about the other guy? The guy who goes to the other guy's house? No, wait.
What does that do with Mishloach Manos?
You're giving a meal.
Right, so when I would go to your house, I'd bring with me my food, and then we'd exchange Sudas. Okay? And now you'll see, in the Meforshim, you'll see, that's also considered Mishloach Manos. The question is, according to Rashi at this point, is that considered a good form of Mishloach Manos?
I think.
It seems that way, no?
Yeah, seems
Right. Take a look at the first page of the supplemental sheet. Yeah.
About this morning at the meal.
The Rif. What does the Rif say? The Rif says, he quotes the Gemara, and he says, Abaye bar Avin, Rav Chanina bar Avin, Habu Mechafe Sudasam Ladadi. the Rif seems to imply that Machla Suda is an appropriate way to be Yotze Mishloach Manos. But look at the Ran. The Ran says, Habu Mechafe Suda Sayla Dadi, Lo Haya Le'echa Mehem, Kadesh Yuchal Lishloach Chavero, Lahashir La'atzmo. But he agrees a little differently. He's not saying L'chachila, he's saying what happened? They didn't have enough food among them. So why were they Machla Suda?
Because it's the same amount of food.
No, but why were they relying on Machla Suda?
Because they can afford more food.
That's all they had.
Yeah.
Right, so if all you have is that, so the Ran's learning, but does that sound like the ideal way to do it?
No.
So look at the Torah number 3. Tzarech l'shloach manos Yisrael l'fachos shtei manos adam echad ve'im hechlif sudaso b'shachaver yatsa. That doesn't sound like a chachila. We have machlokas because the Rif and Rashi clearly seem to say it's a chachila, and the Ran/Torah seem to say it's a b'diavad. So what do we have to define? Number 1, what is the mitzvah mishloach manos? Number 2, why does the Gemara present these 3 cases? There's basar v'yayin, there's the average stuff, which is there's your yosei, but like what is that? What's the purpose of that case? And the third is what's machlas sudasayo and what's machlokas in machlas sudasayo if it's a chachila or not. And the floor is yours. Okay, so let's take 2 steps. Yaakov wants to say that there's something about giving here, and Avi wants to say, well, there's an important part of the receiving end also. Good, so now take both those things and give me a halachic svara. Ram says in Parak Beis, in Hilchos Megillah, Halacha Tesvav, Ketzad Chova Suda, right? Ketzad Chova Suda Zu, Sheyochal Basar. Shnei Minei Tavshel. Yochal Basar. V'Yitakin Suda Noah. Kafiyah Shatim Siyado. V'Shos Yayin Asher Yishtaker V'Yodam B'Shichrusol. Okay. Then he says V'chein. Okay. V'chein Chayav Adam L'Shloach Shtei Manos Basar O Shnei Minei Tavshel O Shnei Minei Oklin L'Chavero. Right. So the Ram is very vague. You're chayav to do what? To send 2 portions of meat, or 2 cooked things, or 2 foods. L'Chavero. It's not clear from the Rambam if there's an ideal. Right? Doesn't matter. Right? L'chavero, shneimar mishloach manos yishtoreo, shtei manos leish echad. All right? V'chol marbe l'shloach l'reim meshubach. What's the halachic structure of mishloach manos? You're definitely knowing the Rambam saying that it emerges from the idea of Suda. That's for sure. Right. And then you can use that as a justification for explaining why people hold you have to be able to build your Suda off Mishloach Manos. But I want better than that. Simple svara.
The recipient's
I'll put it this way. There's 2 components to Mishloach Manos. What are the 2 components?
Sender and recipient.
What does that mean? You got to do better than that. Thing good. In other words, you're trying to be able to. Okay, but you're trying to show me that part of what you take into account here is the recipient. I agree.
Not all. You're owed to even if you give anything.
Oh, okay. So you're right. You can't say. So what does that mean then? So now, come on, be a logic. Let's start at its most basic. What is it? No. What is it at its most basic? What do you have to do?
Sending
types of food.
Okay, 2 types. Okay, good. So at its most basic, one component is that there's a chefsa of achila. Right? There's some sort of chefsa of achila.
Right?
Well, 1 second. We know that mishloach manos is what? What's the Gemara's first statement? Listen, Shtei manos means there's something about this. That's what Rashi's telling you. What? Oh, 1 second. So now what gives it... Okay, so that's one component. Could be any achila at this point, right? So what's the other component? What you guys are saying all along.
Has to be a part of your
Has to... What?
Has to be a part of your Purim.
No.
Your friend would want
You'll go back to the recipient part. Okay? What makes it different? Right, so what is it in? In... Mishloach manos ish l're'ehu.
Yeah.
So what's it? What it is a look at these cases, right? Like in the second case, the case where
it's a gift.
It's more than a gift.
Peace offering.
It's a conjoined.
It's a chibur.
We do not simply give.
Second, that's good. So why can't you say like this? Why can't you say that there's 2 components of mishloach manos? So one is that that you have a chefsa of mana. But then there's a kiyum and reis.
That produces the desired effect.
Right. There has to be a kiyum and reis. Okay, meaning in friendship. That's the idea. Right. Ben Adam l'chavera. That's the essence of mishloach manos. There's the maisa. There's the act. There's the giving of this food, meaning the chefsa achila. But it has to be. The question is, does it have to be mekayim and reis?
It's strange because people only give.
So what's the Gemara? What's the Gemara bringing out with these cases? What's the Gemara's point?
No.
What's the Gemara's point with these cases? This is proving what we're saying. What's the Gemara's point with these cases? What?
That's actually to enjoy.
So the kiyum in reis is what?
Dependent on the recipient.
It's subjective. Right. They couldn't objectify. That's why they couldn't make the mana objective, because the kiyum is something that's subjective. So how can they objectify manos? How can they tell you this is what you have to give? It It's impossible. Because that would imply that everyone likes the same thing. But it doesn't. The Gemara, the implication of the Gemara, and this is actually Alach L'Maisa, is when you do Mishloach Manos, you should have a sense of what the person likes. So that's the second case. The second case is, you sent me this, I sent you that. What's the problem there? The problem is, yeah, I did the action of giving you a mana of achila, but the question is, was there a kiyum reyes or not? The guy says, when I got the peppers back, was there a kiyum reyes there? If I don't like peppers, is there a kiyum reyes? It's lacking. You know what I mean? So that's what the Gemara is coming out that second. The first case is showing you, what's the first case showing you? Basar v'yayin. That's showing you what?
It was a kiyum reyes.
That's a kiyum reyes.
I liked it.
Right. But now the Gemara has to bring another case in.
Plus Kiyum.
No, right, but the Gemara has to bring in another case. Why? Because what would you think?
It's only that.
You would think that's the objectification of, but it can't be objectified. It's impossible. It's a subjective reyes. That's the second case.
Well, that's
Let's say you set Mishloach Manos to someone who's a diabetic, and you sent them like tons of candy, right? So are you Yotze or not? What would you say? What would you say? So that's the objectification of the pilpul case. In other words, the pilpul case is that I don't like pilpul, right? But the Gemara is vague as for what that is. So the Achronim objectify that and say, if there's a case where you know the guy won't like it, you can learn out from that. You probably won't be Yotze Reyes. There's the Gemara saying this. The first case is that it's neutral Reyes. And the guy's like, okay, you could have done better. You're still Yotze. But if your Maisa Nesina results in something that is not that is a like antagonistic, you know what I mean? It's like anti-Reyes. Then there's a whole question of Yotze or not. So the first two cases, the first case is showing it's showing you that it made the guy happy, but don't objectify it. The second case is showing you that Kiyum and Reyes is something subjective. So what's Machlef Sudasayo? The Rif and Rashi seem to imply that the Chachila that's fine, right? But what's according to the Ran, it sounds like, and the Torah certainly, you shouldn't really rely on it. Why not? What's lacking?
Perfection.
That's the same with any Shalom.
No. So the question is, do you need an independent Maisa Nesina, exclusive, the giving, right? Exclusive of your Seuda. That's the Machlokas. So according to Rif and Rashi, I gave you 2 manos of ochel, and it's a kiyum reyes, right? Technically speaking, it's fine. But the Ran's saying what's lacking in it. So what's lacking in it is like the Rambam says. The Rambam has it as there's a Suda, this is v'chein, meaning that it's an extension from the Suda, right? Meaning that I have my Suda, but I'm going beyond the Suda. I'm going beyond Suda, something extra. But if I'm just machlif my Suda, have I done anything extra? Is there an independent action of Nesina outside of the Suda? What should be motivating you is the idea of Reyes. Reyes is an idea that it's not a personal simcha on Purim, it's a simcha b'am. So you take your simcha out of your personal and give it to your friend. You bring your friend into the simcha experience. But that means it's beyond, your personal simcha is tied to the Suda. You understand? Yeah. Bringing your friend in, but doesn't mean it's your Suda. It means that you're taking the simcha of your personal simcha and extending it outside of the self. So that's why you can argue maybe Machla Suda won't be an ideal thing to do.
So
I shouldn't make it as a machlokas. I'm just saying that the Ran seems to be indicating that don't rely on this l'chatchila. Now the question is why not? So I'm saying is because there's an idea of extending simcha beyond the self, right? And that's why you would say Machla Suda won't be that good. Okay. Number 5. Look at the Beis Yosef. Well, so there's 2 ways you look at the Rambam. Do we say the Rambam's holding that it's an extension of the Suda, right? Or which means that you could learn around to mean that it's part of the Suda experience itself, and Mach of Suda would be perfectly fine. Or the Rambam could say v'chein. What he means there is that it shouldn't just be a personal experience of simcha. I go more for that pshat because the Rambam says v'chein, and then you give Mishloach Manos, and then the Rambam says the greatest simcha. I'm not getting to the shir right now, but the greatest simcha is Matan Savyonah. So he goes from this self simcha to including your friends to the selfless simcha. I'm not going to explain what selfless simcha is. I'm saying that's the order he goes in. Saying the greatest simcha is one where it's the furthest removed from the self. Take it easy for you. Skip down to where he says Varashi perish. It's 3 lines to the bottom of Beis Yosef.
Mechlafi Sudasayu Ze Ocho Im Ze Bepurim Shal Shana Zu Shnia Sud
Soed.
Soed Chavero.
Right, so he explains what the Machlef Suda case is. So he says V'kasha le Yadvarav.
Right, so this question's Im Kain Lo Hayim Mekhaim again Mishloach Manos each Reu.
Whoa. So Beis Yosef says that Machlef Suda sounds like what? If you learn like Rashi's way, which is that what would they do?
They just Oh, they just each year
They're not Yotze.
1 year they ate by him, the other year ate by him.
Then how could you be Yotze? That can't be Mishloach Manos. Right?
How is
They-
it anything?
Right. Right, V'im Tomar Shahayu Shochan Manos Ish L'Reyu, but if they were sending Manos L'Reyu, Im came my Aslash Rinan, then what do we learn from this? So the Beis Yosef wants to learn Rashi to mean that, if you took Rashi literally, that Rashi's saying they actually, what? They
didn't trade meals.
They didn't trade meals. So the Darchi Moshe wants to come in and say, no. They actually, that's what must have happened is that they traded meals, or else there's no way to learn it. You know what I mean? Point. But the Beis Yosef is bringing out. In other words, but let's say that is what Rashi meant. Okay? Let's say Rashi said that there was a machlef, there was an actual machlef sudasayo. What it means is that 1 year Avi will come to my house, and the next year I go to Avi's house.
Yeah, but
So how can we go to Mishloach Manos?
one guy wouldn't be
How's the
outside.
visit Yotze though?
That's what I'm asking you.
Or, yeah.
How do you go to Mishloach Manos?
By the
You'd bring
host
meals.
Off the
What?
host is
You
only
bring a
outside.
meal.
It's Joseph's way of reading Rashi is that I'm not saying the idea, but his way of reading Rashi is saying that it's a question of you come to my house, I come to your house, but there's never an actual
Give it.
exchange. So what is he? So what would Rashi
You
therefore
say it has
hold?
to be an actual-
Rashi may actually hold. I'm not sure how, but Rashi may hold that you're Yotze Mishloach Manos without a mice and a sina,
What's mice in the
Well,
sun?
an action of giving.
You said you knew.
So what did
No.
the guests do?
Very simple. You come.
What?
Think about it. You come to my house, right? And now you are now part. I'm taking my personal suit experience. And what am I doing?
Extending it.
I'm extending it to include you.
How did he do Shalach Manos?
He's joining you.
How did
That's
Shalach
being a
Manos?
recipient.
He's having his suda with you.
So doesn't he have to give?
No, that's
No.
exactly the point. There's no chi of mice and a sina. There's the way the Beis Yosef will learn on Rashi.
Why need to switch
You
next
mean an
year?
object?
They didn't. No, that's all. No, they just happen to go year to year. 1 year you come to my, 1 year I come to you. He said, I'm just saying, the way the Beis Yosef is reading Rashi, that's why the Beis Yosef rejects it. But he's saying maybe you could assume, according to Rashi, that somehow you be Yosef Mishloach Manos simply by being part of my Suda. In other words, my Suda at first was me by myself, and now I had a friend over.
There's no mice in this part.
Right, there's no mice in the Sina.
But you see,
Right, you just have
Zero in an experience outside of the self. That would be Yotze Mishloach Manos according to Rashi.
Layman's
The Beis Yosef's way. In other words, it's a joining together in the. In other words, I'm having a happy experience, and you come over, and now you join my happy experience. My allowing you to join my experience, and then you joining and me joining to your experience, meaning you are having Suda at my house, and I'm us together. That's Mishloach Manos Yisrael.
But there's
All right, keep going. Look at number 6. So how do we paskin mechaber? No, skip. Sorry, that means there's a parish on it.
Yeah.
Commentary. Shtei manos basar. So now, if you're reading mechaber, how does mechaber sound? Well, right, but like, why do they always put? What do they always put first?
Basar.
Basar, right? Why?
Because it's no Pasha.
Right. So you can argue that in general, basar is the kind of thing that really would be that most people will like.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
let me ask you a question. So, what if you sent 2 pieces of meat to Aryeh?
I was thinking
It's a real shiloh.
That's a diabetic case. You can't eat it.
Bato Dato.
No, he can. He just chooses not
But
to.
he's not allowed to.
Bato Dato was nailed.
Ace Adam, but Ace Adam. All right, keep going. Shnei Mishloach Manos Yisrael. Shtei Manos Yishachad. Okay, go on. Okay. V'im ein lo. Now again, what does the Mechaber say? V'im ein lo. What does that mean?
And if he doesn't
It's not
have,
ideal.
Right, it's not ideal. If you didn't have the means of buying something for a guy and giving it to him, if you don't have that, then you can avail yourself of this. Machlevim chavero, zeh sholech l'zeh sudaso, v'zeh sholech l'zeh sudaso l'k'nei l'kayim, u'mishloach manos yisrael. So the Mechaber, again, it sounds a lot like the Torah. You can rely on it, but it's certainly not l'chachila. L'chachila, you should not be machlev suda. But if you have nothing else, you can rely on it.
so it's the last resort.
I would.
Right.
It's a net.
All right, right. Keep going.
Okay.
Obviously, okay,
Why?
because the mitzvah's in the yom.
Why?
That's when the mitzvahs of Purim emerge on the yom.
Why?
Because it does. That's not for this year. That's just when the
You
mitzvahs
said it's
emerge.
obvious.
So good.
Im sholech manos. So 1 second. So what if I send Mishloach Manos? What if I send Mishloach Manos to someone, and what does he say?
I'm not taking.
I don't want it. I don't want it. Right.
Almost because of a guy.
Oh, mocholo.
What does that mean?
Meaning that I say to you, you don't have to give me anything.
Oh.
Don't bother.
Yes.
Yotze. That's important, by the way. So,
That's it.
Wait, so
you're still Yotze.
So then
Okay. I mentioned before that these are very Oh, that's not. That's just about women. We don't care about that.
I'm curious though.
It's just
All right, so v'isha chayeves matan sevyan mishloach manos. Keish, that's an important halacha. Women are just as chayev as men. Okay. However, why wouldn't they be? Afim hayuba oso nes. Okay. V'isha tishlach leisha, v'ish leish. But we don't want to have mixing up of the sexes here, right?
Oh, yeah,
right, because you know what that can lead to.
No, it brings up very.
Aval lo behefech shelo yavo ish l'shloach almana, right? V'yavo lidei savik kedushin. Because what's going to happen? Explain it.
You're gonna
You give something of value to a woman who's not married, right? There's savik kedushin there.
what every time?
Oh, 1 second. Yeah, now it gets even better. Give me the classic example today of where this problem emerges.
On a date minor.
Worse.
Engagement ring.
Engagement ring. Not so simple by engagement ring.
Ooh, you better clap.
Not so for you for sure. Because if you give a woman an engagement ring,
Can't you say
so that there's a suffix. According to some cheetahs, there's a suffix kedushin there.
Can't
Did
you
you
say,
kona her?
beforehand, before you give it to her, can't you say I'm not calling you with
In Oakland,
Look at number 7. Look at number 7. Look at the Taz. Mine Oakland.
low.
Oh, 1 second. So what can't you do?
Anything's not.
So that's where right or svara. In other words, it has to be a chatzah shalochel. Because what would you argue? You can say, listen, I'm not being stereotypical, but I know this woman happens to love, Louis Vuitton, right? I'm going to buy that for them. For now, when you'd say that's definitely Kiyam and Reyes, for sure, right? It's a Kiyam and Reyes. But what's it lacking? It's not a chatzah shalochel. Gotta be ochel. Yeah. You can't give clothes. Okay. Oshar dvarim. Now next halacha. Ushasiya in the Taz.
What does that mean?
Drinking. A drink.
That's
That's important. Which means what? If I give the Shulchan Aruch and the Rambam say shnei minei basar, but if I give wine or a drink like a bottle of soda, that's considered ochel.
Amana.
Okay, right, a mana. Good. Okay, next source. Now that's a Taz. Taz clarifies is limited to ochel. Number 8, Magen Avraham. Look what he says.
Okay. Shtei manas basar, mevushlin, okay.
Mivushalim.
Mevushalim, roy lachila.
What does that mean?
You have to be cooked already?
Right. So the right lachila. Now,
you'd be able to eat them right now.
why? Based on what we're saying, why is that the lacha? Not because of Suda. That's a mistake. Not because of Suda. Because what the Kiyam's in Reyes, right? So part of the Kiyam in Reyes is what?
Laziness.
What do you mean by laziness?
Ease.
Oh,
Right.
You don't want the guy to work to eat his food.
Right. In other words,
Won't
you'll see the next halacha. But if you got to give the guy cooked food, why? Because what should happen? He should be able to eat the food because that's a kiyam reis. To have that, if you give a guy, you'll see in the next halacha. If you give a guy like a raw, like a beef, well, you'll see that question goes up. But let's say for now, if I give a guy a piece of raw meat, so what's lacking in the kiyam reis there? Well, he's got to cook it now. He's got to make it. He's got to make the food. The ideal kiyam reis is that it's not because of the seuda. He may use it for the Suda, but the point is that the ultimate expression of friendship is this is ready to eat. Right? You don't give a guy a shchita knife and say, "Here, I bought you an animal, go shecht it." You're laughing. Now look at the next halacha, number 9. Right? Right. The Pri Chadash. Chai v'shol chaver shtei manos. Okay. Keep going.
Yeah.
Mashma. So the thing has to be prepared.
Right. The honey basar v'targon.
So it's a machlokas achronim. So one achron wants to say it has to be cooked, but he says no, it has to be defined as muchan. What does muchan mean?
Ready to eat.
No, what does muchan mean?
Prepared.
Well, I mean it's not alive anymore. All right. In other words, what's a
Give
nafkamina?
like a chunk of raw meat to someone.
Right, that's a nafkamina. So according to one side, that's okay because the thing was shechted already. But according to the other side, it's not good. Why?
It's not ready
to be eaten. Right. That's the question. The question is, it does it have to be ready to be eaten, or is it simply not alive? Meaning it's not in that state. So if I buy a guy like a lamb and I give him a knife and I say here, Chag Purim Sameach, everyone would agree that you're not Yotzei.
Well, it doesn't even call it.
One thing, because mana, I don't know how he gets this, but he says it's masha from mana, that it means it's prepared.
It's like a portion.
They're not all related, though, okay.
Let's say I sent you a bunch of roosters, right? Hey, here's a rooster, right? Even though you could shecht it and eat it, you wouldn't be mekayim mitzvah, okay? But if you want to be machmir, what would you say in general? What's the best thing to do?
Prepare fully cooked.
Right, you really. So what I do, I'm not saying I'm God's gift to whatever, but when I send out I have 2 sets of mishloach manos I do. One is I actually prepare something for for a friend. But then I give out like to people like Kiyum. What I always do is when I send the Mishloach Manos to friends, so I always make sure there's wine, and I always make Moroccan cigars ready to be eaten. Along with marshmallows and all of the candy my kids put in there. Moroccan cigars. Moroccan cigars are great. They're cheap, right? And they're easy to make. There's an active bishul involved, and they're ready to eat. But a good example of what you could give someone is like a dried salami. That's also great to give. Salami, right? Because it's ready to go. You don't have to worry about cooking it. What does the Mishnah Berurah say? Mini Ochlin?
Same thing is right.
Right.
V'sharei devarim v'hodin mashkesh t'shaper dami t'shtia.
B'chal achila. Also, so drinks are good too. V'chein sagi be'echad ochel v'echad mashkeh. So you can give one food and one drink. All right. Ubayinan she'em min ochel hamavushal. So it should be cooked below basar chai. So again, l'chadchila, what should you do? You should really give something that's ready to be eaten. All right. The Mishloach Manos haroi miyad la'achila mashma. So what does it mean? It means that it's roi to be eaten now. But then he says, "V'yeshomer they came at you shachad aray lishvasham yad shari." He says, "No, but you can even say that if it's a raw steak that's ready to be cooked, even that would be considered good too." But ideally, what should you give the guy? You should give him the cooked piece of meat. Okay. Now take a look at the Aruch HaShulchan. He has another important point. Ode
Something.
nearly.
Nearly. There's eno di.
Die.
It was enough.
Enough.
Because one
second. So what? Now let's say you're a shrewd guy, right? Like Diva'inon Yafeh. It's got to be a nice portion.
Yotze or wouldn't be reyes?
He seemed.
What is it? Okay.
Ain't no die will not be sufficient.
Is that subjective?
What? I hate to use these terms, but he's objectifying a subjective feature of it. Now, he's saying that it's not really, well, no, it's Mana Yafeh, but it tells you one thing. If a guy's, I think this is what he's saying, if a guy's attitude is Kazayas, I'm going to give you as minimal as possible to be Yotze, that's not Mishloach Manos. Keep going.
But what if the Kazayas is on some super bomb stuff?
If I brought you over a piece of steak, here, what would your reaction be? You'd be like, that's not a Mana Yafeh,
I would.
Yosei Nidei Chovas Mishloach Manos. Af ben Manos she'ein. This is Rosham Zalman. Turn the page. So your Yosei.
Sorry.
Yosei Nidei Chovas Mishloach Manos. Af. Keep going. Af.
Af ben Manos she'ein hamekabel rashai.
La'ochlon.
Mitame
Brios. So that's what I said before, right? In other words, you Yosei. He says you are Yosei your Chiyuv Mishloach Manos. If even if the person who accepts it, right, can't really eat the foods because of health reasons.
Oh.
Okay? So I if you start asking me specifically what those parameters are, I don't know. But I don't know if it means if I sent a guy high fatty food who's on cholesterol medication, I don't know if that's what he means. I think the diabetic case is the best case. But I'm just saying he holds that. I think he used that case last year. I think he used that case of Pinsky last year. The question is if you send Ezra Pinsky, right, a big bottle of milk, right? Chad Purim Sameach. Are you Yotze? So he would say, you still Yotze? You're still Yotze?
In a diet also.
That's a good question. Diet. If a guy's on a diet. But that's my point. See, but what is it telling you though?
Give him salad.
Saying I'm inferring from what all the Achronim say that you really should, if you really do Mishloach Manos correctly, what should you do?
The person.
Right, you should know the person you're giving to. Like this person likes steak, you make a mistake. If you know the person's lactose intolerant, you're not going to give him milk.
Seriously? You're going to ruin all those cups?
I say Mishloach Manos to my friend on one condition. Right, that he gives me something in return.
Okay.
Right, al tanai sheyachzor makabel.
Isn't that machluf sidaso?
V'yishlach gam hu lo manos mistavid lo yatsa. Oh, but there's a difference though. What's the difference between that?
It's not machluf sidaso.
And machluf sudaso, it's not that they're going there with the intention to do that. I'm doing it on my own volition. You're doing it on your own volition.
It seems very like.
It says the kima de matana imo sheyachzor gam hu lo mana. Near the chashiv skora v'lo mishloach manos. So if I give you something, if I'm giving you the mishloach manos al tanai that I get something in return, that's not mishloach manos. That's skora. That's business. Yeah. Okay, so you can't do that either. Okay, so it has to be a real kinyan. You won't be yotze according to him. Okay, turn the page next.
No.
Now comes the one I want to get for you guys. Okay, you can rely on this if you have no other choice. Look at the last one. Aruchasam yeshiva. Young lads who receive their meals in yeshiva. There you go. Mekaimim mitzvahs Mishloach Manos.
Hey, relax.
Manosam. Oh, So you can be mekayim your mitzvah Mishloach Manos, giving that which you receive meal-wise to someone else.
That's what Shmuel said this morning.
Right, so you can rely on that. Okay? You can rely on the fact that, but look at the note guy on the bottom where I marked off. It's really good what he adds in.
Which?
The host, you see that I marked it off on the bottom, 49?
Okay.
The hosef for Beno.
What?
The brown kid showed up a lot.
Right, if a guy comes who's not part of the yeshiva, he can't rely on that. The ein ha'ochel should be yeshiva zu kanu lo, because even though he's part of my suda, but the meal that you're getting doesn't really belong to you.
We'll go generic party.
Chacham Elijah says as follows. He says, "Hasholech lechavero kufsa sigario." So I sent to the guy from Mishloach Manos. What do I send him? A box of smokes. Oh, tabak haracha, which I think is snuff.
Yeah, Chinese famous, yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, lo nechshav the mana. I know because I was talking about this. That's not considered a mana. Latzeis ba yidei chava. Latzeis bazeh yidei Mishloach Manos. Afilu kishiyodea shemakabel ma'ashin mariach tabak. But even if you know the guy likes tobacco, if he's a smoker, you won't be yotzei.
How can you say that?
What?
It's not alcohol, obviously.
Yeah, what kind of?
Oh, so but it's not begadim.
But it's not
It's not alcohol.
Not alcohol.
Right. Well, you don't eat it. That's correct.
You don't eat it.
No, you smoke it.
Okay.
But you're getting some. He says, "V'chein." Now here's another one. V'chein tam l'chacham hasholech l'chavero. Wait, what's this one?
What about chewing tobacco?
That also won't be good. V'chein tam l'chacham hasholech l'chavero chidushay Torah uparpaos l'chachma. Oh, Sifrei Kodesh Yom Purim. Any yotzei chavas from Mishloach Manos. This is a smart move. So let's catch this. I'm going to send you a sefer or some of my Divrei Torah here. Right? You get Kiyum Reyes, right? But it's not a chashash shalocho. Okay. So what's the upshot of all this? Now we come to the.
What does upshot?
Now we have all this. So how would you approach Mishloach Manos? I mean, again, the ideal.
Go to the store, buy
Ideally.
meat and a bottle of wine, and give it to the guy.
Salami.
Well, before that, first I would identify. If it were me, I'd identify first who am I giving to.
Yeah. If
Right?
you know
Find out who you want to give to, and find out and know what they like. Right? And if you know that then you should cater to that person. Right? Normally, the normative would be basav yayin because a person generally people like that. But if a person you know particularly he likes certain things, you should cater to that person. That's definitely the best way to do it. Should you rely on machlef sudasa?
No.
If you have no choice, right? But if you can afford to get something on your own, you really should. That's really the best way to do it. But if you can't, then you can rely on machlef sudah. But that doesn't seem like the ideal. Certainly not according to the Ran. It's unclear based on the Rambam. But certainly according to the Ran and the Torah, it's not the ideal way to do it. And the Mechaber also doesn't seem like the ideal way to do it. And when you're giving something, it should always be food. Okay? So that's because it's all based on the ches of ochel and kiyum reyes.